Hey, how are you? My name is Jin Cox-Orrell, and I had the privilege of traveling to Zambia in the summer of 2009 as a participant, and then again in 2016 as a trip leader. So if I have my notes here, so if I look down, that's why. So I'm really sad I can't be there today to speak to you all. I hope that my words will suffice. So as many of you know or may not know, I was raised in the Fusion community, so going through religious education our whole lives, which is the sexual health curriculum for UUs, holiday fairs, youth groups, countless trips to Sandy Island. My mother is still a member and is our family's most active church lady. I graduated from college in 2015 in Chicago and have been teaching sexual health at a high school in Everett, just outside of Boston. So it's a year-long class comprised of 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, essentially OWL on steroids. We dive into consent, healthy relationships, communication, decision-making, equity, sexism, racism, gender stereotypes, birth control methods, STIs, LGBTQ identities, and kind of everything in between. It wasn't until I spoke to Dick one day at coffee hour on a day that I decided to indulge my mother and come to church with her that I really started to think about the connection between my job and my experience with Zambia. He said something about how Zambia must have really impacted my career path. And I kind of looked at him and smiled, but in my head was kind of thinking, shit, like I've never actually made that association before. Of course, there's the obvious link between wanting to help people and working with young people, but I hadn't really thought much more beyond that. So in my conversation with Dick and having given it some more thought, he was right, as he usually is. So unbeknownst to me, I left that first summer in Zambia with a profound interest and passion in education and health and how those two are really interconnected. In my opinion, health and education and an equal access to both are kind of the fundamentals of a life that will lead to opportunity, growth, and sustainability. Unfortunately, in Zambia and many other places in the world, that's not a given like it is here in pretty suburban Newton. Those of us living here, we live in a really privileged world. So privileged, in fact, that education and healthcare access are already assumed or seen as a right that everyone should have. So at North and South, I'm sure, whenever you talk to your guidance counselor for the first time, the first question they ask is, so where are you going to college, or where are you thinking of going? It's not ever anticipated that you wouldn't be thinking of that, or that money might be an issue and you wouldn't be able to afford it. Granted, not everyone in Newton can afford to write a check for college tuition. That's only the lucky 1% that can do that. But we do live in a community that has resources and the wherewithal to figure out how to accomplish that goal if someone does want to go to college. And the knowledge of how incredibly important an education is in the first place and making that a priority. So I'm not really sure where my life or my career would have led me if I had not been to Zambia, but I'm glad about where I am today. I think before that summer, little sophomore me wanted to be an event planner or a wedding planner. I'm really good at organizing things. But when I got back, I told my mom, I don't think I want to plan parties for rich people. I don't think that would sustain me long term. So I'm really grateful for the privilege, and I think it really is honestly a privilege to be able to travel to Zambia and to get a more realistic, humbled approach on the world at such a young, informative age. The way I see value in things and people and experiences has changed because of these trips, and I'm glad I don't really know the alternative version of me without having had this kind of life-altering experience. I think even now, whenever I have issues in my life or I'm stressed, I can constantly look back on my time in Zambia and immediately get perspective and understanding and a profound sense of gratitude for the opportunities I have in my life, my consistent food source, having all of my family members still alive, not needing to choose between getting an education and working, having access to birth control, and any type of healthcare that I need, not having to be the sole supporter of my younger siblings, never wondering where I'll rest my head at night, safety walking home alone at night, just the list can go on and on. So if you have the means and the time to travel to Zambia, I will always say do it. The very first check I ever wrote to my mother consisted of my 16-year-old self life savings of, I think it was $1,500 to book my flights, and it was the best money I ever spent. So if you want to talk to me more or have personal questions about it, that's totally fine. You can reach out to Dick Bale. He has my email address, and I would love to chat with you more about it. Thanks. Bye.